Hey.
Hi, Pat.
Glad I was able to make it today.
Hi, Loretta. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Pat.
Hi, Pat.
Hi, Colleen. I saw that wave.
Hey, Kermit.
Hello.
Everyone.
How you doing?
Welcome.
Thank you.
Hey, Vince, it looks like it's about that time. So,
Okay, you're ready. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere.
okay. So I'm going to mute everyone. And when Vince invites us to unmute ourselves to join him for the Serenity Prayer, please do. Okay, here we go. And Vince, you know the drill. You have to unmute yourself.
Okay.
There you go. Perfect.
Okay. Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome. Before we get started, though, I just want to once again ask your prayers and to please remember in your prayers one of our counselors, C.P. Marachi, who passed away today. He had a long battle with cancer, you know, a real warrior. He ran our gambling program and was a big advocate, you know, in gambling. So he's really did a heck of a job. He's quite a guy. So I'm going to miss him a lot because him and I still love telling stories with him and having a good time with him. So, you know, he's my South Philadelphia paisan. He's a real good guy. So please keep him in your prayers. His family too, especially his wife. I also want to mention that David Diamond is doing a workshop this weekend. Yeah, the numbers are on Zoom. He's using sound and music. It's called Using Sound and Music to Promote a Healthy Life Process. Okay, and that's from 1 to 3 on Saturdays. And you're more than welcome to attend that. They go to the Zoom things and pick that up also. Okay, also I just want to mention our YouTube channel. We now have an education channel on our website. And if you look under the education channel is our YouTube channel with all of our podcasts. CP has his podcast there if you want to really enjoy a man with a lot of stories. You can check that one out. But also Joe Curran, the president of our board and also the executive director of Beacon Point in Kensington, did a podcast a couple of weeks ago based on the recovery process, how the treatment facilities work, what they're really all about, how to deal with families, how to do interventions. He really covered the whole gauntlet of the whole treatment process. So if you want to really pick up a lot of good information and stuff on how the system actually works, please check it out. It's on our YouTube channel. And finally, I just want to mention that we normally pass a basket at the lectures, but here we call the Venmo basket. Okay, you can pick that up in the chat room if you want to. Okay, so thanks, guys. Okay, I'm going to begin tonight by doing a reading. Actually, it's tomorrow's reading from the language of letting go. And it's kind of apropos for tonight. Self-care. I don't precisely know what you need to do to take care of yourself, but I know you can figure it out. Rest when you're tired. Take a drink of cold water when you're thirsty. Call a friend when you're lonely. Ask God to help when you feel overwhelmed. Many of us have learned how to deprive and neglect ourselves. Many of us have learned to push ourselves too hard, when the problem is we're already pushed too hard. Many of us are afraid the work won't get done if we rest when we're tired. The work will get done. It will be done better than work that emerges from our tiredness of soul and spirit. Nurtured, nourished people who love themselves and care for themselves are the delight of the universe. They are well-timed, efficient, and of course, divinely led. Today, I will work on practicing self-care. I wanted to read that tonight because I want to kind of get into the recovery process of codependency. And to me, the recovery process is very special because really what it is, it's a very simple and yet very beautiful process that will teach you things like self-love, self-awareness, self-discovery, a beautiful sense and healing of yourself as a person. And I'm a big advocate of looking at my history and looking at it from a positive perspective and a learning perspective. One of my favorite books and my favorite authors is Norman Vincent Peale, The Power of Positive Thinking. And I truly believe that through the power of positive thinking, so many beautiful things can be occurred. I feel bad in our society today because we get very much caught up in a lot of negativity, when really in reality, we have to try to look at things through recovery eyes and through the eyes of being positive. So I want to go through tonight what I call the 6 stages of recovery. But I have to kind of start off by saying something about codependency. Most codependents, myself included, and I want to go back in my time of myself for a little while right now. I want to go back to the year 1981, 1982, somewhere in that area. I had the opportunity to attend a workshop that was given by a lady. The lady's name was Janet Wowitz, and she had published a book called Adult Children of Alcoholics. In the book, she had something called the laundry list, or the traits and characteristics of an adult child of an alcoholic. When I read that list, it kind of scared me. I almost felt like she had lived in my house. But I realized those traits and characteristics not only pertained to somebody who lived with an alcoholic, but they were the foundations of the traits and characteristics of all of us, the traits and characteristics of codependency. As a result of that, I was able to put together and work with some very beautiful people on putting together a process. And I get excited about this, so please put up with me. I get excited because I know that it works. I know I've applied it to my own life, and I see it work so many times in the lives of so many other people. But I got to emphasize the fact that it's a process, it's not an event, which means it requires patience, it requires time, and the process is slow. It's not magical. So I've learned over the years that so many times we're kind of looking for what I call magical answers to things, but there aren't. Real good work and real growth is something that is a process we go through. I always share this. I say one day at a time, a little bit at a time, until about 10 years after you're dead. And if you're a really hardcore codependent, about 50 years after you're dead. See, we never give up, what can I tell you? But the bottom line is, it is a process. So many people come into Starting Point and contact me, and they want to do inner child work. They don't know what it is, but they want to do it. And I always say to them, well, to do inner child work is something you have to work at. And I always try to remind them when I talk about the process of doing inner child work, it's a 6-stage process. And I want to emphasize these stages because they're so important, because without them, the process doesn't really work. The only problem is, I hate to tell them this, but inner child is stage number 6, not number 1. Just like our 12 steps, you can't carry a message unless you've done the first 11 steps. And so it's kind of a process we go through in life. Everything's a process. So let me go through the stages with you, and I'll kind of show you how they work, concentrating tonight just on the first 2 of the stages. And then we'll spend the next 3 weeks going through the other parts of them. One of the things I've noticed about codependents and adult children of alcoholics, and in many cases addicts too, we basically, I describe us as frozen Kelvinator freezers. We're very pretty and beautiful on the outside. We come in all sizes, shapes, and colors. But inside, we are frozen solid. And I describe codependents very many times as people who are frozen from their nose to their toes. The only part of us that isn't frozen is this thing up here. It's called our head, our mind. We basically, because we've gone through so much hurt and so much pain, especially in our growing up process, as we go back and look at our history, we realize that many of us have frozen ourselves, closed our feelings off. And again, I'm talking a lot about me. And as a result, then basically, what do? We go into our head, and we intellectualize everything because that's a form of, which is a powerful thing for codependence. It's a form of control. And really, in reality, it really isn't control. It's an illusion of control. But we actually think we're in control. And I know this because when you have a lot of hurt and a lot of pain, so the first stage of recovery is called education. Now, why do we make education first? Because I know how adult children and codependents work. Basically, education is safe. Nobody's going to call on you. And literally, you are in charge. It means I can analyze, I can look at things, I can relate to things. But the bottom line is, I don't have to share anything or being connected with anything. I can just gather information. And we're good at this. Codependents love books. People always come up to me and they say, what books can I buy? And I love this one. What books can I buy so I can bring them to my therapist so I can teach her about codependency so she can work with me on it? You're going to train your own therapist? And guess what? That's what we do. That's the control issue I'm talking about. And so as a result, then also, when we're analyzing and we're basically interviewing a therapist, I can tell when somebody's a codependent right away because they want to know. Give me your full name, where you were born, where you went to school, what's your background, how many degrees do you have, how do you know this stuff? You got 18 questions. What color underwear do you wear? Where do you go here? What do you do there? On and on and on. After a while, you say, whoa, stop. What are you doing? Interviewing me for a job? But the bottom line is, yeah, you are. Because literally, I got to make sure I'm not going to get hurt anymore. See, safety is a big thing for codependents. And to be around people I feel safe with and I feel comfortable with. Because I don't want to get hurt anymore. I'm tired. And I basically want to make sure. And the other thing happens a lot is a lot of people want to ask you the question, now, if I do this work, what will be the results? And I try to tell them I'm not Houdini, although people think I am. I don't know what the results are going to be. They'll be different for everybody because it's your work, it's your process. And it's what it's really all about. And yet this is a process of life I'm talking about tonight. And so education is natural, it's normal. And it should be the first step because I don't want people getting into this work unless they have a sense of what they're doing. They have a sense of what it's really all about. So the more they can learn, the better. I recommend that a lot of people get educated, read books. If my Codependent No More, Beyond Codependency. Bradshaw has a lot of great books out based on codependency. You know, the book I wrote is based on codependency, on childhood history. A lot of these things are all part of a learning process. Lectures, educational programs, podcasts, all these things are really important. They're part of a learning process we go through. But eventually, we recommend the second stage of recovery is building and developing a strong recovery family, a strong recovery support system. Because I have to emphasize this as strongly as I can. You can't do this work alone and by yourself. It's not analytical. You need to be in touch with others, and you need to be able to have a strong support system to help you through the process. But again, that takes time. That's why some people stay in the educational phase for a long period of time. One lady came up to me one day and she says, you know, I've been coming to your lectures now for 3 years. I've been doing all this stuff. I think I'm ready now for the second stage. I said, okay, but it's okay. You know, for a long period of time from 1987 up to 2015, I used to run codependency groups. I ran them for women, I ran them for men, because I learned that men can connect with men and women with women. And so literally I took them through this process. But I learned after a period of time, I had to stop doing the groups because I was literally burning myself out doing them. Because I learned after a period of time, I can only do so much. I guess I'm getting old, what can I tell you? But the bottom line is I still do it with some people individually. I guide them through the process, as I'm going to do with you over the weeks to come. I'll give you the foundations, the background of this process, and give you some ways in which you can really begin to do some of this stuff for yourself, which is really important. But again, remember what's important is eventually you've got to be able to share this stuff. You know, the thing I love so much about our 12-step program is when the founders put it together. In that first step, they used the word we, not I. See, we're not islands. Thomas Merton puts it beautifully. We are not islands. We do not stand alone. We are interconnected to one another. And we need to be connected to others because we learn from all the people we meet in the course of our journey. So all of us are teachers and pupils every day of our life. We're in the process of learning. And the thing we have to learn all the time is that we're going to go through struggles. We're going to go through loss. We're going to go through changes in life. Life is not going to be with this easy street that we want it to be. We're going to experience things in our life that will make us sad, but we'll experience joy and celebration too. But I know about myself and I know about you, I don't want to go through life all alone. I want to go through life connected to others. So I have a lot of gratitude for my family, my wife's family. I have a lot of gratitude for my recovery family. I have a gratitude for so many people that are on the journey with me in this world. Because I realize more and more that we're interconnected, we're interbonded to each other. And that's how this process works. But I know people have to be ready. And that's why I tell people, take your time. My father used to say, bien, little bit at a time. You know, it's funny, my father drilled that into me, and I didn't truly understand what he was talking about till later on in my life because, you know, I wanted to take the world on by storm. And then when I got into recovery, my sponsor in OA used to say to me, Richard, just do a little bit today, Vince. That's enough. That's enough. Don't do too much. If you grow that much today, you make progress. So we always talked about progress, not perfection. See, it's not about being perfect and doing this thing perfectly. We have to actually go through it in a slow and sometimes tedious way, just like life is. We're going to have those fantastic moments, those mediocre moments, and those sad moments. It's all part of our growth process. But if we truly work in conjunction with others, then basically we'll be able to handle these things and get through them in a positive way. The third stage of recovery is called affirmations, affirming, learning how to might as well use the term, how to re-teach ourselves. It's actually brainwashing. We have to brainwash ourselves to think positively. And that's hard because so many times when you're going through a lot of negativity, are we ever going to get to the point where we're able to look at things through positive eyes? In fact, I recommend this. I don't recommend anybody doing this work or doing family of origin work unless they do it with a positive attitude. Because it's about healing, it's about forgiving, it's about settlement. It's about making peace with the past, learning from it and growing from it. Because I'm a firm believer that basically everything in life that we go through, no matter what it is, has a silver lining to it. There's a positive for every negative. And yet negative is part of life. A positive comes from it. Look what we've just gone through in this past year. I can really get down and look at it negatively, or I can look at the ways in which I can learn things from it and grow from it and realize the fact that it's helped me to open doors in different directions. And so I got to try to the best of my ability, as long as I can walk on this earth, to try to face the things in my life that are tough to face, but try to see the other side of them. And that's for forgiveness, healing, being able to process things through. So affirmations are really important. Learning how to affirm ourselves in a positive way, seeing the beauty inside of ourselves. And again, what that reading said tonight, self-care. We have a beautiful thing in our eating disorder program. It says, you've heard the principle before. It's called the HALT principle. When you're hungry, get something to eat. When you're angry, talk to somebody and talk about it and process it. Don't hold it in. If you're lonely, connect with other individuals and people. And if you're tired, get some rest, relax. You're allowed to relax, but we're Americans. We have this tendency, we got to keep pushing on all the time. It's interesting. My wife and I went to the islands quite a number of years ago. And I remember going into a store around 2:00 in the afternoon. And we walked in to do some shopping and they were closing. And the man said, come back later, come back later. Never in my life I got thrown out of a store and told to come back later. I said, what time? Later on today. It was rest time, siesta time. Come back later. Don't bother me now. And I love that. At the same time, it was different to me. It was scary. But see, being able to realize the fact, yes, you got to take a break. You got to relax. And believe me, this is not the easiest thing for me to do. I'm learning as I get older, I get more tired. And therefore, I got to listen to my body more. And there's things I can do today that I couldn't do yesterday. And guess what? There's a lot of things that I could do yesterday I can't do today. Isn't that wonderful? It's fantastic. I picked up some mulch today. Those bags are pretty heavy, man. They didn't used to be. It's totally amazing. I went to pick up my lawnmower later on the way home from work today. And the guy came out to bring, I got it, what do you call it? Cleaned up and all that stuff. And he brought it out and I could never pick it up, but he lifted it up like it was a piece of nothing in the car. I said, okay, thank you. But I could do that years ago, but I can't do it today. And that's okay. It's part of acceptance. It's part of growth. Part of what we go through in life. So we have to look at things through positive eyes and not get down on yourself and look at things negatively. The fourth stage of recovery is called self-parenting. Learning how to be the adult and learning how to parent my child. You've seen that bumper sticker. It says, it's never too late to have a happy childhood. I have the power as an adult to parent the little child inside of me. And I will give you some tools and ways to do that. I will show you techniques and how we do that. But it's really important to be able to go back in our history and give that little child a voice, to allow it to speak, to be able to get in touch with our feelings, and then to be able to give ourselves a voice. And so as the higher adult, we learn to take care of the little child that's inside of us. There's a beautiful child inside of each and every one of us. Sure, that child has been hurt. It may have gone through a lot of changes, but we can heal that child and we can be the bigger adult to help that child to go through the healing process. So self-parenting is a powerful process. And I'll show it to you and I'll give you techniques and ways to do that. The fifth stage of recovery is called family of origin work. One of the things we do in recovery is we allow ourselves to go back and look at our history, but to look at it once again with positive eyes and be able to do an inventory of our childhood and of our life, but to do it through a healing process, a learning process, and a growing process. For a long period of time, I look back on my childhood and I look back on it pretty negatively. But I realized today, they were just my teachers. My dad was probably the ultimate of all codependents. Beautiful man, fantastic man. Did everything for everybody. Never did a thing for himself his whole entire life. Unfortunately, I became him. My mother, she was more the addict in the family. She had a problem with amphetamines and also a problem with compulsive overeating. And my mother basically, needed my father to enable her and keep her going. And so they played that back and forth game with each other. So I realized my codependency traits come from my dad, and my addictive personality came from my mom. Never in my right mind would I ever say, I am grateful for my addictive personality. Because my addictive personality gave me the gift of recovery, and it gave me so many fantastically beautiful people to experience recovery with. And that is so important in my life today. So it really is a gift. And so really, when I say my prayers, I thank my mom. I know the struggle she went through, but I know I spent too much time being angry at her and being frustrated with her. I spent too much time looking at things negatively. I don't want to do that anymore. And so I'm able now to move to the other side and see where things are going on the other side, which is really important. And so I pray to her today. She's one of my guides today. My dad, the exact same thing. I'm grateful for the things he taught me. So many beautiful people have taught me so much over the years. But I've learned through patience, through taking me through a process. They kept planting seeds in me and helping me through my growth process. I always tell the story of a professor I had in the seminary, Father Pete Code. Father Pete was quite a guy. He was 93, 94 years old when he taught us. And of course, we were young kids. We're 22, 23 years old. And we kept saying, what's this old man going to teach us? He should be in a rocking chair on a porch somewhere. He should be retired. Well, I'm going to tell you, we played more pranks on him. He was the most patient man I ever met in my life. We used to take the chalk off the board and put cigarettes there. So when he picked the cigarette up, he'd crush it. He'd turn around and he'd smile and he'd say, thank you. He never got upset. We couldn't figure it out. How do we get to this guy? We never got to him. He got to us. The thing I learned about him was he had this beautiful gift of patience, calmness. He looked at life through a different set of eyes. I even joked about it when he had a new roof put on his house off campus. He had a fight at age 93. He had a fight with the roofer because he wanted a 20-year guarantee. That's what I call the power of positive thinking. And the guy would only give him a 10-year guarantee. So they had to go through their thing together. But that was him. But you know what's so powerful about that? It's almost like these people come into your life that I call them seed planters and teachers. But isn't it interesting how you got to go through insanity, craziness, and beat ourselves up and be hard on ourselves until finally we come to that awakening period. We start to hear the messages they were giving us. Isn't that amazing? I realize today some of the beautiful messages I've gotten in life came from all the people I've experienced, even from so many people who have passed on. Some great teachers. I've learned from people that have died even through hurt and pain. They're still my teachers. I learned through all people I've experienced in the course of my journey. And so I'm learning this process. So family of origin work means I have to look at my history. I have to embrace my history. I have to acknowledge my history. It's my history. It belongs to me, and your history is yours. And acknowledge who you are, and acknowledge your history, and acknowledge the people that were in your life. Acknowledge those that we've lost. Because we really haven't lost them. They really are part of our soul and part of our makeup and part of us. So we may lose a physical body, but I know I'm thinking now about CP, Marachi, whom I've had the opportunity to know for many years, and to be able to do all the talks we had together, the laughs we had together, the stories we told. He's part of me. We're connected now. Sure, his body went through hell and it's gone, but his spirit will always be there. And that's what's important. Because I got news for you. We all got a round trip ticket. Congratulations. And one day it'll get punched. Okay. So, do the best you can for today. Enjoy it. Enjoy the celebration of the people around you. And that goes into the last stage of this process called inner child work. One of my favorite stages, because doing your inner child work is such a joy. It's like almost meeting yourself as a child for the first time in your life. It's like building that relationship with the other part of you. It's about the growth that comes from it. And so when I take you through these stages, I want to try to show you how you can look at them in a positive way. Remember those first two stages, education and building a support system. And this is a process, I can explain it to you, I can show it to you, but please, it's a slow but gradual process we do when we're ready to do it, a little bit at a time. So to get you ready for this process, can I give you some assignments? I love giving you assignments. Charlie can't wait for these. I know that. It's totally amazing. And especially Mike gets real excited when I give him assignments. But it's all part of it. So what I want to tell you is what I'd like you to do. If you want to do it. If you don't want to do it, it's okay. Don't worry about it. But here's some of the tools we use as we go through this process. Go to the dollar store. Buy 2 books. One's going to become your negative notebook. One's going to become your positive notebook. While you're at the dollar store, buy a coloring book and buy some crayons. And not an adult coloring book either. Buy a kid's coloring book. It's great therapy. I'll show you how we use that. Find a photograph of yourself as a little child, especially between ages 0 and 10. Try to find a photograph, something that you like. And we'll talk more about that in the future. And if you have anything that connects you back to your childhood, take a look at it, especially if you had a stuffed animal or something to that effect. We'll talk a lot about these connections, these things that take us back, that help us to remember. It's really important. So these are little tools and things you can put together to get ready for the work. And as I go through, I'll give you little techniques, I'll give you ways to be able to do this work, but they're techniques and they're ways. And you can do them to the best of your ability. Will you do them perfectly? Of course not. Please do me a favor. Don't do anything perfectly anymore. Okay? Stop. That's called agita in Italian. Doing things perfectly is crazy. Take your time, do a little bit here, a little bit there, learn what you can, but always remember that whole principle. If you're tired, rest. If you're angry, share. If you're hungry, eat. Keep it simple. Loneliness and isolation doesn't work. Stay connected to people. Learn from one another. Use whatever means you have to use. But it's a process, and life is a process. And so as I share a prayer with you tonight, I want you to remember that the higher power in God is the guide through this process to help us through it, even though at times it might be hard. We've done something here at Starting Point. When I do the prayer, we're going to put up a photograph of the lecture hall, our memorial wall. Some very special and beautiful names are on that wall. And we always remember the importance of always remembering them, because they're a big part of this process we're involved in. So let us pray. God, we come before you as a family today. We come before you in prayer. We thank you with gratitude and with love. We thank you for the gifts and teachers you sent into our life. Teach us to look at life in a positive way. Teach us to go through the process of healing and learning and growing. Teach us to look back even on those who have passed before us. They are spirit, and who they are a part of our journey today. They are our teachers, and we thank God for them. God, we know that you walk with us and you will guide us if we only ask for your help and ask for your guidance and ask for your direction. For you are the key of our family. We are interconnected to you. We ask your guidance and direction as we go on this journey, a journey called recovery, a journey of learning, a journey of experiencing who we are, and learning how to take care of ourselves and love who we are as people. We need your help and your guidance. Walk with us through our sadness and through our grief. Walk with us through our joy and our celebration. But help us above all to trust this process, to be open to it, to learn and grow from it. And we as a family come together. We say thank you for those before us. Thank you for our teachers that will come. We say thank you in gratitude. We say it in humility, but we say it in love. And we ask this in your name. Amen. And I'm going to ask you guys, if you don't mind, unmuting, and we will say the we version of the Serenity Prayer together.
God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. God's will, not mine, be done.